Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of My Thoughts On. I am Nathan, of course, and I'm being joined by C. Carter, and we are discussing the 2015 Elimination Chamber event from WWE.
Thank you for having me on your podcast, Nathan. There's a lot of stuff we need to talk about for what we just witnessed.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for joining me on this. Um, yeah, Elimination Chamber. This was an event that took place 2 weeks, I believe, after their last event which
Payback.
which was Payback, yes, on the WWE Network.
And we got 2 more weeks to go until Money in the Bank.
Yeah, they're doing their shows quite close together.
But I think for this particular reason, since they're trying to get some more subscribers to the WWE Network, that's I think how come they did 2 pay-per-views this month. So they get some more subscribers, and let's face it, May was free.
Yeah, well, they've been doing that free thing for quite a few months.
hmm
But anyway, we're gonna talk about the show, go through the card match by match, and at the end, we're just gonna give our overall thoughts on the show.
All right, sure.
Okay, so during the pre-show, there was a match between Stardust and Zack Ryder in which Stardust won. I don't really have too many thoughts on that one.
Well, I've heard one of the commentators. I watched the pre-show match, and one of the commentators was saying that Stardust, he changed the crossroads to I don't know what name they came up with for it, but it's almost like it's they're saying they're trying to set up a match between Stardust and this guy. Let's see, I can't think of this guy, whether he was on Arrow or Game of Thrones. I can't figure it out. But they want this guy to face off against Stardust at SummerSlam this year. I think that's what they're pushing.
Right. And yeah, that guy is from Arrow. I can't
hmm
I can't remember his name, but yeah. And eh, that's just a thing that they're doing that they just bring in celebrities for whatever reason, pit them against superstars. They've done that many times in the past.
hmm
Sometimes it works, sometimes not so much.
Snooky.
Oh yeah. Snooky.
hmm
But yeah. And Zack Ryder hasn't been doing much either, really.
Yeah. I think that's that. I think it's gonna come to the point where Zack Ryder will be released.
Yeah, I mean, on Raw, he had that match where he accepted John Cena's U.S. Open Challenge.
hmm
And
Yeah, but for to go from accepting John Cena's open challenge to being on the pre-show, that's a major downgrade in a hurry.
true, but really, what pay-per-view event has Zack Ryder been on at all recently?
Yeah, good point.
But yeah, anyway, on to the main card. The first match of the night was the Tag Team Elimination Chamber match for the Tag Team titles, in which the New Day managed to retain against the Lucha Dragons, Tyson Kidd and Cesaro, the Primetime Players, the Ascension, and Los Matadores.
Mm. Well, my main problem, and I called. I'll be honest. I called the New Day Team Stereotype, and I call them Team Stereotype because apparently this is Vince McMahon's mind of thinking this is what black people do at church every Sunday, and that's how come I call him Team. That's how come I call them Team Stereotype. Um, that matchup had a lot of action. I couldn't believe Kalisto tried to climb up to the top of the cage.
Yeah, that was definitely something.
Yeah, he was climbing up to the top of the chamber. I don't know who he landed on, but boy, that was a long climb up. Um, that was a good couple good matches. And I think when it came out, I made this comment that when it came down to the primetime players and the New Day, I said the NAACP must be smiling from ear to ear. But the New Day did win. I was a little bit disappointed. I was hoping for the primetime players to win. my major gripe is why. Okay, three people. New Day. They let all the members of New Day be in that matchup. That's my only problem with it.
Yeah, I was a bit confused with that as well.
Hmm. And they let all three be in that pod. They said that main reason they did it because Xavier Woods is claustrophobic.
Yeah, it seemed a bit cramped with just two people in there.
Hmm.
So I could only imagine how bad it was with three.
Hmm. Yeah, but it was nice seeing the Los Matadores Bull be up there on top of the pod where Los Matadores was.
Yeah, I agree.
Hmm.
And overall, I think the tag team version of the Elimination Chamber match was a nice experimental concept. They were testing it out.
Watch this, Nathan. Next year we're gonna see a Devils elimination chamber match.
You know, I don't know if WWE would try that, but if they do, I wouldn't be all that surprised.
I mean they out that number. I mean they were shocked. They tried the tag team elimination chamber, so they probably might try Divas next.
True, that is true.
Mm.
But speaking of Divas, the next match on the card was the triple threat match for the Divas title, where Nikki Bella retained against Paige and Naomi.
I'm worried about Naomi Nathan because she just was way off her game tonight, and it's almost like I said Paige and Nikki would just carry her through the matchup.
Yeah, Naomi, she didn't know what to do during most of the match. She had no idea what she was doing.
Hmm.
There was a point where she even asked what's next because she didn't
Yeah.
know what was supposed to do afterwards.
Yeah, I mean you could clearly hear her yelling what's next, her saying what's next. And that's what's a little bit disappointing to me. Hopefully, I hope that if Naomi does get another opportunity at the time, she does a better job because it clearly she looked lost out there. She didn't know what to do.
Yeah, and the way WWE was building her up, I was expecting a better performance from her.
Hmm.
So I was a bit disappointed about that.
Hmm.
But uh, I was also kind of disappointed that Paige didn't win. I would have liked to see her as champion again, but Nikki
I have no,
winning is okay.
yeah, I have no problem seeing Nikki as a Divas champion for a little while longer.
Yeah, she's not doing too bad as champion.
Hmm.
And speaking of champion, the next match, champion versus champion, Kevin Owens versus John Cena.
Oh man, Nathan, I gotta be honest. I was kind of surprised to see this matchup come in on this because I thought that it was gonna do Bo Dallas versus Neville after the Divas match. But I'll be the first one to tell you, I was impressed. Kevin Owens should really definitely open a lot of eyes tonight, especially when he done the unthinkable thinkable and defeated John Cena. That's what shocked everyone.
Absolutely, not too many people beat John Cena cleanly, and
Hmm.
Kevin Owens did. And to be honest, I thought they were going to put Cena over Owens, but they didn't, and I was surprised.
Hmm. Yeah, so I was impressed, and I was really impressed when Kevin Owens did the AA on John Cena.
Yeah, me too.
I was definitely impressed. I think Kevin Owens. It's safe to assume now that he's on the main roster of the WWE. I think it's safe to assume that. Hopefully, sometime soon he will lose the NXT title somewhere down the road, but for what he did tonight against John Cena, he opened up a lot of eyes, and there's no doubt about my mind. Kevin Owens is the future of the WWE, and as long as Vince McMahon stays away from booking Kevin Owens, I think it's good.
Absolutely. NXT has some great talent, and Kevin Owens was one of those guys that was ready, in my opinion, to come up to the main roster. And the way they had him come up to the main roster, having his debut match at Elimination Chamber against John Cena.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that was awesome. This was a nice job by I'm looking at Triple H. Triple H, I bet you Triple H had to twist Vince McMahon's arm again to go along with it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because
But
you know Vince McMahon would probably might have had John Cena go over.
yeah, because well, we all know that John Cena they just built him up to be Superman at this point. So
Hmm. Yeah, and that's how come you see a lot of signs saying Cena wins, LOL.
yeah, so it's refreshing when they have someone beat him clean.
Yeah. Now you got Owens wins. Oh my God.
Yeah, well, it was surprising, like the way they build up John Cena that he pretty much never loses. It's quite a shock when he actually does lose.
Hmm.
But that was definitely a good match between the two. And the next match on the card was Neville going over Bo Dallas.
I think that this was a good matchup from beginning to end. I'm hoping that WWE will let this rivalry go on a little bit longer, but since chances are we did there was notice that Neville will be in the Money in the Bank match at Money in the Bank. So hopefully I hope that they will let Bo Dallas win the qualifying matchup and he be in the two so they can keep this rivalry going.
Right. Um, I think WWE is doing this thing with Neville where they're putting him against bigger named opponents, having him beat a couple of them, but they don't really have any real direction for Neville to go. So they're just putting him
Hmm.
in whatever match they think he'll fit in.
Well, would you rather first see and never come out to Here I Come to save the day?
Yeah, well, I think after a while longer they'll have a nice direction for Neville to go in,
Hmm.
because he definitely has talent. He's a one of the great talents they had on NXT. If I'm not mistaken, he was the longest reigning NXT champion.
You're right.
So I was glad when they called him up to the main roster, and the guy he beat on his first night was Bo Dallas. So that's pretty much what that rivalry was built on.
I think also Nathan. I think WWE added Neville because they knew that he could fly. I think he's gonna be the Shelton Benjamin of the WWE for a while. There's Spot Monkey. In the Money in the Bank matches, him flying all over the place with the ladder.
Oh, absolutely. I'm looking forward to see how Neville will fare in the Money in the Bank match,
Hmm.
especially because Kofi Kingston's going to be in it too, and Kofi Kingston has his Money in the Bank moments as well.
Yeah. So it should be a very intriguing matchup at Money in the Bank.
Absolutely. But moving on down the card here, the next match was the Elimination Chamber match for the vacant Intercontinental Championship. And we had saw Ryback win the match against Sheamus, R-Truth, King Barrett, Dolph Ziggler, and Mark Henry, who replaced Rusev, who was taken out of the match due to his fractured foot.
Yeah, I think one of the key things which we saw tonight. I'm pretty sure. First of all, um, the writers at the Dirt Sheet website, SEScoops.com, they're eating a lot of crow because they're saying that it was gonna be Bray Wyatt. I'm pretty sure some was shocked to see that it was Mark Henry. But so I can imagine they're gonna be eating a lot of crow. They're also eating a lot of crow because they thought that Sheamus was going to win the matchup and be the new Intercontinental Champion. But it was nice to see Ryback win. All I gotta say is, what took him so long? It's about time.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the first championship Ryback's held in WWE.
Yes.
And he's been in WWE under the name of Ryback anyway for about 3 years. So,
Hmm.
yeah, it took them a while, but he was injured for a while. So, that's some of that. and the other storylines he's had, like with him being fired and all that.
Mhm.
But it is
Well,
nice to see Ryback as Intercontinental Champion now.
yeah, and also it's not. I think it was also the funny part about it. I don't know how in the world they could had now King Barrett. I respect King Barrett now, but when King Barrett threw Dolph Ziggler to Mark Henry's pond and that glass came out and Mark Henry didn't know what to do, they said there was no disqualification, so Mark Henry just went in and attacked King Barrett. But
Yeah.
King Barrett is regretting all that trash talk that he said to Mark Henry.
Oh yeah, definitely.
hmm But like I said, it was nice seeing Ryback win. Being a new Intercontinental Champion. I'm pretty sure Sheamus is going to complain about it tomorrow on Raw.
Yeah. And it was a nice surprise to see Mark Henry back.
hmm Yeah, I thought that he retired.
Yeah, well, I feel like he's gonna retire pretty soon.
Yeah,
And
but I hope WWE has him come more than once every blue moon.
yeah, he hasn't been on really a full-time schedule as of late.
hmm
And I remember a couple years ago when they had that whole speech where Mark Henry said he was gonna retire, and then that was just a ruse to build up to the match he had with John Cena for the
Yeah.
WWE title.
hmm
But I think the day of him actually retiring is soon approaching.
hmm
But overall, was a it was a solid Elimination Chamber match.
hmm
And then we move on to the main event: Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship.
Oh boy. All I gotta say, I caught most of it, but then my WWE network started to mess up on me. It just started lagging. Just started doing that. Just at one point, I almost gave up until I got to the near the end. It says that I saw that Dean Ambrose won and he held the WWE title, but Lillian Garcia said it was by disqualification. And that was just, when the crowd was screaming, "This is BS," that pretty much let you know that was a sloppy finish.
Oh, I was disappointed. I was
hmm
so happy to see Dean Ambrose winning, and then I heard the announcement that it was by disqualifications with Seth Rollins still the title. I was
hmm
I was pissed, man. I was so upset.
hmm
I
No,
mean,
because
you can go
it
ahead.
was, yeah, it was a little bit disappointing. I was disappointed because that was a sloppy finish. There was no way there was no way you're gonna tell me that you gonna let a guy celebrate after he wins the title and then just all of a sudden just announce that he won the title by he won the match by disqualification, and because of that stupid rule, Seth Rollins is still the WWE champion. And I think I was just a little bit disappointed. WWE could have done a better job of that finish.
Especially the way that the disqualification was called, because the fact that Seth Rollins knocked the referee down and another referee had to come out to count Ambrose's pin. That's
Mm,
happened before in the past, and it wasn't usually counted as a disqualification.
mm,
So the fact that it was tonight, that was just that was disappointing.
yeah, and the crowd. I think that the crowd was chanting "This is BS," and I think they have a point because something tells me WWE doesn't want Dean Ambrose to be champion. Not now. They didn't want him to be champion.
Yeah, I mean, I like Seth Rollins and all,
hmm
but the whole thing with the authority, it's just getting old and played out.
Yeah.
So I think it's time for a new champion. And Dean Ambrose as champion, that would probably have been a good idea. I mean, Dean Ambrose is over with the fans, and
hmm
Dean Ambrose, he has the same Rage Against the Machine attitude that Stone Cold had. So Dean Ambrose could be the Stone Cold of this generation.
Absolutely.
So that was kind of a bad move. Hopefully Dean Ambrose will win the title down the road. I mean, we're not sure
I,
what's going to happen at Money in the Bank with the title situation, but maybe he'll get one more match.
I hope so because he really deserved it. He got screwed tonight. That's the best way I could put it.
Yeah. Yeah, that they've really had like hit or miss with WWE World Heavyweight Champions recently.
Hmm.
I mean, Seth Rollins did a good job, but before that, their champion was Brock Lesnar, and Brock
And boy,
Lesnar, he didn't show up most of the time as champion. The title was like non-existent for like 3 months.
hmm yeah, yeah. So this the thing that I didn't like when Brock Lesnar was champion. You know, he didn't show up like you said. He didn't show up that often because people were used to seeing the WWE again. You know, WWE title being defended at every pay-per-view. And while Brock Lesnar was champion, there were times in which he didn't show up. He didn't show up at Survivor Series. He didn't show up at TLC. I'm trying to think what was another.
I think he didn't show up at Hell in a Cell either.
No, I don't think. Yeah, you're right. He didn't show up at Hell in a Cell. Did he show up at Fastlane? I don't think he showed up at Fastlane.
No, I don't think he
Cause
did.
yeah, cause he showed up at the Royal Rumble, but he didn't show up at Fastlane. As I think if my memory serves me correctly, he beat John Cena at the Royal Rumble.
Um,
Anyway,
yeah, but yeah, they've definitely had hit or miss with their champions.
hmm
But I think having Dean Ambrose as the champion would be a good idea.
yeah.
But uh, overall, uh, your thoughts on Elimination Chamber as a whole?
Um, I think overall I have to give it a B, no, a B plus. You know, the ending kind of ruined it for me. Um, it was, I mean, great tag team championship elimination chamber. And it was a good card overall, but that finish just kind of did it for me. I gotta give this pay-per-view a B plus, and hopefully hope that Money in the Bank does a better job.
Yeah, I I kind of agree. I'd go more towards a B minus, but that's because the same thing, the ending of the main event, that kind of ruined it,
Hmm.
and I also wasn't a big fan of Naomi's performance in the Divas Championship match, which also kind of was a down point for me in the show,
Hmm.
mostly because of the build-up that they gave her. But there were a lot of great moments in the show. Ryback finally becoming Intercontinental Champion, Kevin Owens surprising everybody, beating John Cena clean. Yeah, it wasn't a bad show overall. It wasn't too bad. I definitely had a lot much lower expectations for it. So I must say they did not disappoint.
Hmm.
But Money in the Bank, we'll see what they decide to do with that. And they did announce 6 participants in the Money in the Bank ladder match tonight.
Mm.
And there are still, I want to say, 2 more to be named.
Yeah, because I think usually Money in the Bank matches is 8.
Yes. And I'm looking on the Wikipedia page right now, which has 2 to be announced spots. So,
Mm-hmm.
and they did say on commentary at the show that those participants that they listed weren't all of them. So, we'll see who else they decide to put in the Money in the Bank match.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll also see what they decide to do as far as the WWE World Heavyweight Championship situation goes. If they'll give Ambrose another shot at the title, which I think they should, but you never know with WWE.
Yeah. It might just throw him under the bus and move on.
Yeah, Dean Ambrose, he doesn't have the best win record in pay-per-views, but matter of fact, I think he's only won like 1 match as a singles competitor after the Shield disbanded at a pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I think he could be the Stone Cold of this generation. But anyway, I think that's about all we have to say on Elimination Chamber. Anything else you would like to say about the show or anything?
No, just other than I just wish that they'd done a better job of the finish. That's all.
That's understandable. Alright, well, then that is all we have to say. I'd like to thank C. Carter for joining me on this show,
No problem.
and we will see you all on the next episode of My Thoughts On. Thank you for watching.